G.I. Joe, all-American hero. Cobra are the worst, and so the Joes come and ruin their evil plans. G.I. Joe. Look at that beautifully rendered artwork. That is exceptional. Oh, the nostalgia is strong with this one. Also, how the mother flip has this not happened sooner? Love the X series. Say what you will, but it's doing some real fun stuff with the brand. Ha ha, love it. Also, I am just in love with this wishbone packaging. Oh, how classy is that?
That's a classy move.
Top secret. Surveillance has detected spies scouting Cobra base. Unauthorized vehicle is identified as Subject B. Be prepared to intercept. Their sting is sharp, but we are poised to strike. This feels special, doesn't it? Let's have a look inside. He's huge. He's enormous. I guess to scale with a G.I. Joe he had to be, but I was not prepared for this size. I can't even say words. And then behind him, Baroness. I can honestly say, I think this is the first G.I. Joe I've ever actually bought. Good gravy. Right, straight off the bat, I just want to say, this is a deeply, deeply flawed figure. There is a lot about this that just does not work. I'm going to say that right off the top, but I love it so much. I don't know what it is. There's something about it. The crossing of franchises is just really working for me. It feels like something straight out of the 80s. Anyone who's caught any of my content in the past will know that I have a pretty standard running order in terms of breaking down a figure. I normally go sculpt and deco, articulation, accessories, comparisons, transformation, vehicle mode, Dunsville. But with this one, to get the full effect, I think we're going to have to mix it up a little bit. Like, to have him feel completely finished, we're going to have to start with accessories, then move into comparisons, because I really want to impress upon you just the wow factor of his physical presence. So the first thing we're going to do is finish off that backpack with these cool looking, almost, they look like null rays almost. I don't know if that's a standard G.I. Joe H.I.S.S tank thing, because I know next to nothing about G.I. Joe. But to me, they look like null rays. So they sit up on top. That turret can twist, these are articulated. Already you've added an extra layer of firepower that Megatron just normally is not packing. Then you've got this big doofy parts forming piece. Whatever, you know, I know some people hate parts forming. I don't super care. It is at times a little bit lazy, but also sometimes, what can you do? At least they sculpted the inside of it. Eh, that's something. But that just goes ahead and attaches on the back of that hand, and it works like a shield. It does what it should. You can't see me. And of course, Megatron would not be Megatron without his patented fusion cannon that famously goes on the back of his hand. It's a weird place to have it as a weapon in the first place. Even weirder that now he can't twist his arm. And I'll be real, I do think there's the space to have at least have it sat back, you know, 5 mil. That would have put it just behind his hand. I guess it might have interfered a tiny bit, but it would have made a big difference. The fusion fist is not a great look. But that said, fully kitted out, this is one mean machine. Like, he is bringing some big Megatron energy. I love it.
I like it a lot.
There is, of course, one final fairly major accessory, that being Baroness. Part of me doesn't want to open it because it looks so nice and pristine like this, but I wanna engage wholeheartedly in the action features. So I guess we're doing this. I feel wrong. It feels wrong. Blister card, why?
You maniac! You blew it up!
So the Baroness herself, with her glasses on, it looks a little bit like she's wearing fake glasses. Like she's gone to sleep, but she wants everyone to think she's still awake.
Excuse me, Your Honor. Yes, I'd like to bring something to the court's attention.
She herself comes with her own accessories. Is she cross-eyed? I guess they're pretty tiny apps. If not cross-eyed, at the very least disinterested. It comes with a snake pack, a snaky backpack. looks like she got it from a hobby store. You know, like when emo kids used to wear Elmo backpacks? It's got that kind of feel to it. She's also got a machine gun. Just in case riding around in Megatron wasn't enough to get the job done. And it came with this little bit to help her stand up, which is nice, because as far as I know, G.I. Joes are notoriously difficult to make stand. Also, Joe fans, do you not think it's strange that there's no thigh swivel here? Imagine how much more action you could get if there was a thigh swivel. That looks hilarious. That's how she scales with Megatron. That seems pretty accurate, almost, right? I would have said. That's a delightful scale. So, Megatron's Golgothran backpack does serve a purpose. You can get real human alliance-y with it, chuck her in the turret, and then now she's contributing. She is contributing to the war on Cybertron and Earth.
And I help.
I mean, I don't know a hell of a lot about G.I. Joe, but would it have not thematically maybe made more sense with Megatron being the leader of the Decepticons if he had have come with Cobra Commander? I don't know. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe it's some comic nod or something, but if it is, I'm not aware of it. So just to give you a better sense of his truly awe-inspiring stature, here he is alongside Masterpiece Megatron and Siege Megatron. Is this the biggest Megatron we've ever had? At least the biggest G1 Megatron to my knowledge. And for the hell of it, here he is with Earthrise Optimus.
I seem to have made a mistake.
Let's be a little bit more pragmatic about this, shall we? So let's have a good look at him. If nothing else, that head sculpt is incredible. It screams Megatron. Same as they've really carried that through on his chest as well. It's very much like G1 Megatron just adopted a different alt mode. And they even bothered to put in that little hint of red down the side. You've got the red picked out on these hip-mounted missile pods, and I also quite like the way they're sitting at slightly different orientations, like they've been freshly loaded. And then on the legs, you've got some real delicate tampos, which I assume that these numbers and that V probably means something to someone. It's probably some kind of G.I. Joe reference that I'm just not aware of. But I really like, you know, all the riveted plates and things like that. That's carried through onto that shield. You've got Cobra logos everywhere. You've got, I don't know, 788. I don't know what that means either, but it's there and it looks cool. The only thing deco-wise that I would have quite liked, and I think would have been quite cool, is if you had that G1 Megatron filigree on there. I think that little extra kick of black on the chest plate would have offset how high a contrast it feels to some of the rest of his body. As for the toy itself, it's made from really, really soft plastic. To blow him up this size, he honestly doesn't feel too much heavier than like Voyager Megatron. It's because he's, you know, such an exceptionally hollow boy. Like all the backs of the legs are hollow, the insides of the wrists are hollow. Big hollow back. He's very, very hollow. And he does feel it. He has the feel of, you know, I don't know if you've ever had them, but you know those cheaper price point, oversized figures that seem to be a staple of most toy lines nowadays? It might not even be a softer, flimsier plastic, but just due to how big and hollow he is, it comes off that way. And a side effect of that is his pieces never want to stay fully tabbed in. You'll find as you're moving him about, you're forever having to re-tab him. That's also led to some quite strange tolerances. So like, alright, we'll do the articulation. His head is on a good ball joint. He can pull some great Megatron looks, and he's got a little bit of look down and up as well, which is nice. These bits fold up so that if you need to, oh, there we go, see? Untabbing, soft. You can get this universal arm all the way up. 360 as well, because of the way these pieces have been all designed to sit on the shoulder, which I think is pretty cool. They didn't even manage to do that with Legacy Laser Prime. He's then got a bicep swivel, and his arms, depending on how you're rocking the accessories, can get a nice crisp 90. His hands, unfortunately, are hollow as the rest of him, and they don't move. I think, particularly when you look at that wrist, that's one of the aspects that gives him quite a cheap feel. It does look a little bit like a tiny throne. That cavity is actually big enough that you can go ahead and get a headmaster to sit on that throne. How weird is that? I don't know why you would do that, but it's an option. Unfortunately, no waist swivel, which is a damn shame because it would have gone a long way to helping you throw some more dynamic shapes. That waist swivel would have been a really easy one to do as well, because if they had have just put a line across that cod piece, you can see where it's sort of already a separate piece up here. So I don't think it would have been the end of the world to have it pivot from there and end up with a line there. I guess they went for shelf display over in-hand play, which is a choice. I think that'll, you know, some people will prefer that, some people won't. He's got universal hips with a thigh swivel. It is ratcheted, but it's ratcheted oddly. It's a soft ratchet, but then because he's so big and hollow and gooey, it just behaves a little bit oddly. Like it works, but it feels a little unnatural. He's got a knee bend that on my copy at least is super stiff, but that can go for extreme knees. These hip pieces are actually on a ball joint, which is pretty good because that means you can get a lot of different shapes out of them, which is nice. He also has an articulated heel spur, which definitely helps balance him if you're throwing him out in some, you know, more extreme action angles. So, it's not an inherently difficult transformation, but he's big and bulky and I'm doing it at arm's reach through a camera, so there's a good chance I might end up making it look much more difficult than it really is. Fold those shoulders out and actually past being square. Need to fold out that foot, fill out the space. Come around the back, tab that up, but also fold that piece up. Untab those arms, untab that chest, fold it down and out of the way for now. Give these guys the old switcheroo. Fold that whole section at the waist, fold in those heel spurs. I find it easiest to just bend these knees down to start kind of trying to collapse up the shape a little bit. Have these hinged up, and you want the arms facing out and bent down. They're going to tab in the middle there. This will then all peg and tab together. Just leave it kind of folded up and out of the way for now. These legs folded out and around as much as they sort of can. And then you'll see the fist will just nestle inside and the legs will do their thing. Then you know you've got it when you can get this piece to just slip down over the top. You can't super see them, but there's some tabs and stuff. Pegs to go where the pegs gotta go. These pieces twist around and plug in to finish out the treads. And they also tab in on the side of Megatron's torso to hold that in place. Fold up that bit and then you're kind of just finishing him off with this. Hide that face away. Megatron another day. I mean, come on, even the harshest critic has got to be pretty impressed with that. No, that's really cool. Am I into G.I. Joe now? I just didn't know they could be this cool.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
As for Baroness, if you want, there's pegs on the back so you can have her getting a dinky. She can obviously go in the turret just like she did before. Bang, bang, bang. Ah! Bang, 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 bang. These guns are also blast effect compatible. Pew, pew. You can also go ahead and have Baroness ride shotgun and be designated driver if Megatron's had too much energon.
I know they're all thinking I'm so wide and nerdy, just too wide and nerdy.
And for a little extra tank energy, this can go up on top too. Pa-pow! So whilst he's not the most articulated bot ever, and doesn't have some articulation that you might expect from a figure this size, he is trying to pull off a lot, and he is a fairly reasonable price point for the size and complexity and everything he does, and the fact that he comes with a G.I. Joe and stuff, that I forgive a lot of it. You can still do some pretty cool things. I know it's not perfect. I know all the flaws, but man, I'll be very surprised if this doesn't end up on my top 10 of 2022. It makes me feel collector joy of the purest form. If you're on the fence, just get it in hand and tell me you still don't like it.
And those.
Oh.